All right, Charlie Vann here with Lauren Mary Kim. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
All pretty good. How have you been kind of passing this time right now? I know it's kind of strange times with quarantine and everything, but what have you been up to?
Well, I had an opportunity to start like shooting some of my projects I've always wanted to shoot. So I've been doing that. Zoom classes, started training in martial arts again because my martial arts studio opened outside, so we can still train there.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, but that's about it, just trying to be sane, during all this craziness.
Well, you talked about projects. Which projects are you currently working on, and are you having to adapt a lot of things with in regards to COVID?
Yeah, I'm shooting like a fun little Star Wars fan video.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, so I'm planning that now. And then I'm also shooting the rest of my Kali Diaries 10 right now, which is
Oh,
like me finding a different martial arts. So yeah, it's like a fun little fan thing.
well, and I got to see some of the Cali Diaries. I love the sequences, the martial arts sequences. And you mentioned about being a martial artist. What was your first art form that you found?
My first one was Taekwondo.
Oh, same here.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
yeah, yeah.
It seems to be everyone's first, or that or karate.
I know like Shotokan is pretty popular, right?
Mm,
Yeah, I
yeah.
know it's usually that or Taekwondo. But talk about your Taekwondo. What age did you first start in Taekwondo?
I actually started later in life.
Mhm.
I started when I was in college, and then I trained, and then I got my black belt, and then simultaneously I started training in Wushu,
Okay,
and
awesome.
then yeah, and then after that I was like I want to learn more, so
Yeah. It's kind of
I
like Neo and
started.
Matrix. I'm going to learn
Yeah,
everything.
I was like, I need more. I need
Yeah.
more knowledge. So I went to the Inosanos Academy of Martial Arts, and that's where I started training in Muay Thai, Silat,
Mm.
Filipino, and Silat. Wait, did I say Silat already? And JKD.
And in Muay Thai, I found that in college later because
Oh,
started
wow.
watching like a lot of people UFC and found went from Taekwondo to Muay Thai. I mean, just talk about how that's especially helped you in a lot of your fight sequences because there's so much you learn about your balance in that.
Yeah, I mean, just learning all the different martial arts
Hmm.
actually has helped tremendously in like fighting on film because you just have a deeper knowledge of martial arts and how to throw certain kicks. Like maybe this character has more of a Muay Thai background versus a Taekwondo, so obviously the kicks are different. The techniques are different, so having a vast knowledge, your library is deeper, so it helps a lot,
Did
and
you
you can have more fun with characters too.
and do you find a particular form of martial art that you use the most in a lot of your fight sequences?
Lately, I feel like a lot of requests for like Kali, which is the
Mm.
Filipino martial art, a lot of stick fighting stuff. So a lot of directors and producers are learning about that martial art more, and they love it. So a lot of them have been requesting that actually.
Now, I want to go back to Wushu. I've always been fascinated by it. How did you get started with that? And what do you find the most useful from that in some of your action sequences? And how did you make that transition from like Taekwondo to Wushu? Because they're definitely a little bit different in styles.
Yeah, wushu's more like dance. It's very
Mhm.
fluid and continuous. It's not as rigid as
Mhm.
Taekwondo. But I was a dancer actually first.
Yeah, I was
So
going to say that.
yeah,
Lakers, right? NBA,
yeah.
right?
So for
Yeah.
me, it was actually a really easy transition because it was the closest thing to what I knew,
Mhm.
which was dance. So wushu is like all forms, which is like a dance routine, and you don't do a lot of one-on-one with each other. So
Mhm.
in that aspect, it came a little easier. But it is so draining on the body because you're like in a low drop stance and then to a jumping kick. So it's like very draining and hard on the body.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioning dance because I don't think a lot of people know that like Bruce Lee was a competitive dancer back in the day,
Yeah.
cha-cha champion. Talk about like that also being a dancer, how much that's helped your martial arts career and stunt performer as well.
Yeah, I mean, the ability to learn like a lot of choreography helps. Being able to manipulate your body in certain ways that like it's almost like an actor, like you're able to think about movement with emotion, so that helps
Mhm.
you move like a character, so that helps a lot, having the dance background. But yeah, and the coordination, obviously, and that obviously doing that at early age helps with a lot of things in life, I think.
Now going back to Taekwondo, how far did you get as far as the Dan level?
I only got my first degree.
Same here.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I beat myself up that I'm like, oh, I should go
So
back.
you can get the second, you're like, but then you learn
Yeah,
all the other martial arts as well. And you're like, I got to learn,
yeah,
add
yeah.
more. Which
They
one did?
say,
Oh, go
oh,
ahead. Sorry.
sorry. They always say your martial arts journey begins at black belt. So I feel like,
Yeah.
ah, man. But
Well, I think too, like now, I mean, there's so many doors open, especially with now online, you're just learning about, or you'll see something, you're like, especially I know just going back to MMA, the growth of MMA, it's like, oh, Muay Thai, oh, Jiu-Jitsu. Like, it's like, I need to learn that while you want to perfect this craft in Taekwondo and move forward. Your mind's like, hey, but something different over here and,
yeah,
and, and expand that.
yeah, and that's the kind of the route I took, and that's what I just kind of loved. I just kind of wanted to learn various forms of martial arts, and that was kind of my goal.
And with a lot of martial arts, there is that kind of pace in that time. Was there an art form that you took the quickest though, too?
Um, oh man, that's I don't know if I took. I mean, maybe Taekwondo would be the easiest for
Mhm.
me as the dance background, because I had the flexibility.
Mhm.
And as I was a tomboy, so like I always made like really sharp movement. Like that's like something that I really like enjoyed, like the power of it. So yeah, maybe Taekwondo is maybe the easiest for me.
Do you think learning forms and katas really helped you with the stunt choreography, remembering placements and moves?
Yes, definitely. But then going to Inosanto Academy, we have a lot of partner work, and so
Mhm.
that helped actually with like understanding distance and I guess you could say like how hard to hit someone, and
Mhm.
like you're having someone to play with, it helps you adopt to like choreography as well.
Mhm. And as a stunt performer and going through that choreography, how much say do you have or in your character's choreography? Do you say, I have this idea. I think Electra should do this maybe?
Yeah, definitely. Every job I'm on, I'll try to make suggestions like, oh, what if she did this instead? And sometimes they take it, sometimes they don't, but you just can't be emotional about it, I guess. Yeah.
Is there ever a room for a little bit of improv in what you do, or is it has to be like strictly set routine?
Most of the time it's strictly
Hmm.
set, because it's just the safety of the other performers,
Hmm.
because if they don't know what you're going to do, then they could get hurt and I could
Hmm.
hit them, or vice versa. So everything's pretty much choreographed and set in stone before.
Well, let's go back to like the beginning of when you got into stunt performing. When did you find stunts?
I mean, I didn't even know about it until later in life. Like, I didn't grow up as a child and was like, I want to be a stunt person, because back then we didn't have a lot of knowledge of this
Hmm.
industry at all. So I moved to LA as a dancer, trying to be a dancer. I moved as a college student, and I actually got my first job as a Laker girl. And I was always doing competitive acrobatics as a kid. So I was like, oh, I want to take a gymnastic class. So I enrolled in a gymnastic class, and I met a bunch of stunt guys, and they were the ones that introduced me to this whole industry. And I was blown away, and I just fell in love with it. And I kind of just fell into it like that. And there was no turning back. Like, I stopped dancing after that, because I was like, this is way cooler.
What was your first project like? That experience you get to set. What was that like?
Nerve-wracking, because I didn't know what to expect. I think one of my first jobs was a Nickelodeon show called Ned's Declassified, and Fred Savage was the director. And I grew up watching him on TV,
Oh,
so for me,
Wonder
I was like,
Years,
oh my
yeah.
gosh, it's so cool. and to work with him was amazing. And then, you know, they're like, okay, you just have to do a bunch of backflips down this aisle. And I'm like, okay. And then I did it like 2 or 3 times. They're like, you're wrapped. I'm like, wow, that's so easy. Like, is all jobs going to be like No, it's not. But yeah, that was my first introduction to the stunt world.
And then you go from there to Cursed, right?
Yeah, I think that was a little later down the line. I think after that, I did like a commercial for Lucy Liu, and I was like the secondary double. I still was not experienced enough. And I was like nervous as hell, but yeah, I mean, every job you get, you build confidence, and that's what it brings me here today, because now I feel a lot better with my skill set and with everything now in the industry.
Do you have like any advice for someone who would love to get into stunt performing? Like where would you direct them to go to first? Even if they're not in LA, like, I mean, any state, they're like, hey, we need stunt performers. Where would you direct them to first?
Well, first I would, you know, ask them if they had some type of skill, and every skill is very useful, whether it's motorcycle, driving, martial arts, gymnastics, parkour. And then I would, you know, train in what you love, and then try to expand out, whether, you know, if it's something new for you, but try to develop as many skills as you can. And then maybe try to meet stunt people in your area and just try to train with them, because you learn a lot from your peers. And then also, like, to get into SAG, that's like another huge thing, because you have to be in the union. So trying to do background work, and then try to learn as much as you can on set, because a lot of the job is, you know, being on set and like having good etiquette.
When you get into it, is there like, hey, I'll do this, but I'm not okay doing that? Or do you just need to go in just open-minded and try your best at what you can?
I think you have to be open-minded, but if you have to be honest with yourself, because you can really get hurt on set if you don't have that skill set. You know, like, I do have my motorcycle license, but you know, I haven't ridden one in a while. So if someone were to call me, I'd be like, you know, maybe you should get someone that's a little more comfortable and who rides them more often, because you're putting yourself at danger. You're putting the coordinator at risk. I mean, everyone at risk. So I think just be honest with your skill set. That's the most important thing, because, you know, you don't want to be that accident that happened on set.
Yeah. Would you also direct people to say, hey, maybe take a couple martial arts classes just a little or even dance as well, to learn more about body movement?
Is useful. I mean, I just say train as hard as you can. I think that's like the most important thing, is just having some type of skill set.
When does and I love that you've shared a lot of your behind the scenes training sequences, you know, from Electra all the way to doing motion capture. When does that training usually begin before you guys actually get to day one of like filming those sequences?
You know, every project is totally different. Some projects we get, like, if it's a film, we get sometimes a month to work on that sequence, and then you get to shoot it in like a week. Whereas TV, you'll literally get 1 or 2 days of rehearsal, and then you have to shoot. So it just varies on the project and their length of time of shooting. You know, I've done projects where you only had 1 day of rehearsal and then you shoot the next day. So you just got to be on it.
JJ Perry was on Scott Adkins' show, Art of Action. He was talking about his rolling down the hill sequence and the rundown, and just it took all day. What's the longest sequence that was probably the most taxing or grueling for you in a project?
Oh man, there's so many. There's so many. Like, off the top of my head, like just shooting like fight scenes in general, they take literally all day. People, I mean, it may be only like a minute fight or like a minute and a half, but like, you know, you're doing it several times. You're doing it for each camera angle, and then insert shots, and then you're like dead by the end of the day. And so, yeah, it just crawls. The day can crawl sometimes.
So ibuprofen is a must after some of these scenes.
I try not to take it, just like I want to feel the pain. But if it's like a really, really tough day, then yeah, I will. I will definitely
Do you have like a kind of a pre-warm up or preparation before you even start these training sequences?
Yeah, I mean, I like to warm up before because I don't want to pull any muscles. If it's a hard gag or something that's a little more dangerous, I always do like a little mental meditation in my mind, and I ask for protection. Because things could go wrong, like if you do a car hit or if you're jumping out of a building or you're doing wire work from high above, like anything can happen. So I always try to protect myself and assess like the situation, like what could go wrong, but then let it go because you don't want to get in your head. So yeah, there's like steps I take through the day to get through things.
Now, go into your motion capture work. You've got to portray Harley Quinn, which Arkham Knight, very fun game. I love her sequences and her action. Talk about getting to play that character.
That was fun. I mean, Harley is like an iconic character, and especially now that Margot Robbie has played her, it's like you have to be so uninhibited and not care what people think because you gotta just get that character to life. And she's just so fun to play. Like all these characters are so fun to play. Like doing mocap is one of the best jobs because 1 minute you're playing like a creature, and then the next minute you're playing Harley Quinn, and the next moment you're playing like an officer. So you have to be very prestigious, and it's just really fun, and it makes your day go a lot. It goes by like fast because it's just like you're like a child playing pretend sometimes.
Is it the same kind of sequences or setup as like if you're doing a live action, just obviously it's motion captured?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, except for obviously we don't have costumes or makeup changes or anything like that.
Well, you also got to play, and I did like this. I'm a big fan of the Clone Wars series, and you got to play Ahsoka. I love that battle sequence between her and Darth Maul. Just talk about choreographing that.
Man, that I tell people this all the time. That was literally one of the highlights of my career because I got to work with Ray Park, Dave Filoni, and on Clone Wars, which is like an iconic show. It was just surreal because Ray Park and I had private rehearsals and we got to choreograph our side of the fight. It was just so fun because Ray was just so fun to work with and like very open-minded. It was just very collaborative and it was just a fun experience. I mean, it was hard because we were just going at it for like hours at 8711, but it was just incredible. And then when we got to show Dave Filoni, he gave his notes and it helped add to the whole experience and the whole, like all the character moments. So it was just a highlight for real.
Well, and even talk about like working with Dave. He's so passionate about Star Wars, and I always love watching his behind the scenes. Especially, they've had the Mandalorian gallery experience where you can watch behind the scenes of the show. What was it like, kind of picking his brain and talking with him because he loves Star Wars.
Yeah, he's like the god of Star Wars, and especially Clone Wars. It was just amazing because I couldn't believe that he was so like generous with his knowledge and just also open-minded, and he like really took to our choreography and like loved it. So it was just really refreshing to meet a director that was just like just so easy to work with, and like I don't know, it's just like he's iconic. So it was just unreal almost. I have like no words.
No, I mean he's definitely, every time I watch him, I'm like, man, he's like an encyclopedia.
Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, what a great franchise to be part of. It in your career. You've got to be part of Star Trek, Star Wars, DC, Marvel. Did you grow up a big fan of these genres?
I was a fan. Yeah, I definitely was a fan. I just never had a clue that I would be working in it at all. Like, I had no idea. I just thought it was so far-fetched and far away from me that I was just like, there's no way. But here I am. It's just like pinch me now because I can't believe I'm working in all these cool franchises.
And what do you have coming up now? I did see Avatar 2, correct?
Yeah, I only did like the pre stuff, so I didn't really get to work on the film, unfortunately. But I got to work some test shoots and stuff.
with everything going on, will there be adaptation or like kind of changes, adjustments with how you're doing stunt scenes just because with COVID, or is it going to
Oh.
be pretty same or just like, yeah, safety measures?
I just coordinated a project over the weekend, and things are totally different.
Hmm.
I mean, we have to wear masks the whole time. We get tested before. They limit this amount of people on set. Fight sequences, like action sequences, are going to be different. We're going to be more distance, I think. Everything's just going to be more mindful of, personal space, really.
Hmm.
And the way they write action is, I feel like it might be different now. It might be more weapon work from far away, it might be more car stuff. It's going to change the industry, and it might be less action. Who knows? We have no
So
idea.
maybe not as much hand-to-hand combat.
Maybe, possibly. I mean, we really don't know like what actors will be comfortable with too. So, and producers. So I don't know. I wonder how it's gonna be.
Would even would they even with like training do also the same measurement? I mean, I'm assuming doing the same measurements like months in
I think
advance.
so. Yeah, it's gonna be a totally different experience. But I guess this is the new way. This is the way.
This is the way. I mean, the way for now. Hopefully, all
Wait for
fingers
now.
crossed.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is interesting now. Projects are somewhat coming back though, so there's still some hope. Do you see more motion capture options happening because with COVID? Is there a way to distance those as well?
I heard a lot of mocap is shooting right now, and that the actors are wearing masks while they're on the volume. They are a little more distant. Yeah, possibly there could be more mocap, but I just feel like the set sizes are just gonna be a lot lower now, for sure.
So a lot less people kind of
Way less.
involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting times. I was thinking about that. It's like, I wonder how that's going to affect like with stunts and fight sequences.
Yeah, and no more mass crowd fights probably. That's probably going to
Yeah. So no, that it's weird time every time. It's mind boggling sometimes, but it is like, but from a positive, having projects come back in some form, it's got to be great to kind of push forward.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise we'll be watching the same stuff on Netflix for like the next how many years? We'll be like, man, I saw that show like 12 times already.
Old reruns,
I know, right?
Flashback.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, and now we have, reality TV's having to adjust as well.
Yeah, and I heard they're shooting now too, so.
I think what The Bachelorette's going to be like kind of quarantine in a way, kind of Big Brother style. So
that's what I heard. Yeah.
It's definitely different.
Crazier too.
Yeah. I mean, being caught up in your house for a while, it does feel weird.
Quarantine with like 30 people.
That could drive to madness, but hey, it'll make maybe interesting for TV. For TV.
Yeah.
Going back, you've also worked on Stargirl as well. Talk about that show. That looks a lot of fun. I know you've shared a lot of behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably one of my favorite shows to work on because the stunt team, we really felt like a family. The actors were amazing to work for. They were super easy to work with. And then the stunts we got to do were just so fun. Like our stunt coordinator, Walter Garcia, he is just like a mad genius. So he would think of these sequences and he's like, okay, now you're going to do this wire gap on top of her. And then together you're going to do another wire gag. And then after that, you're going to do fight choreography. So you're like, oh my God, is this possible? And then he makes it possible. So it was just a very ambitious but doable project. And it was just so much fun. It like really pushed us to the limit. And you'll see when you see the show because there's so many wire gags that you almost look at it and you're like, is that even real? Is the whole thing CG? But no, we did every single gag that you see someone flying in the air. We really did them practically. So it was really incredible.
And I take it you can't have a motion sickness and do some of that stuff.
No. No.
How long does it usually
one day
set?
I hit my head, I think.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and then I think I got a little bit of motion sickness from that.
Yeah.
And I had to go home early or something because I just felt so nauseous.
Do you think
But
you might have got a minor
probably. I mean, I've
concussion?
had a couple already, so
Oh,
I'm,
okay, so you've had a few from.
yeah. And
What's
once
the
you get
worst?
one, you get them more easily later, I hear.
I mean, that definitely makes sense. I mean, you kind of hear in football or any contact. I mean,
Yeah.
what's the, and I'm sure you might have been asked this before, but what's the worst injury that you've had on set?
I had to do a car hit, and in the rain. So rain adds another element of surprise. You just never know what's going to happen. So
Mhm.
the way I hit the car, I don't know. The thing is, I don't remember much.
Yeah. Oh,
So I think I
but
had
that
a
was a
concussion
concussion,
for
probably.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
the way I landed, the medic was like, "Oh my god, it looked like you landed on your neck," and then the only thing I remember is like, oh, it's done already. And then the whole weekend I just slept because I was so exhausted. My body just went through so much trauma. And then after that, I felt I guess a little PTSD because anytime I was walking down the street, if a car was like speeding towards me and not slowing down, I would literally like jump. And it was just like a little PTSD from that. So it's interesting how that it really can affect you mentally as well.
And not trying to scare anyone away that's going to watch this that wants to go into stunt performing. She still has a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah. I don't have it anymore, but for like, I would say a couple of months, I was like,
Yeah.
cars.
Well, it definitely, it's a very high risk job. But at the same time, I mean, like I mentioned, all the stuff you've got to do and characters you've got to play. I mentioned Star Trek. What was it like working with JJ Abrams?
Man, he's really fun. Like he found out I was a Laker girl, and he had a microphone on set, and he'd be like, "Little Laker girl," he would always make the announcement. He was just really fun, and he's also a genius, I think. And I was starstruck to meet him, and he was just so easygoing. It's like the people that are like the top are like the most chill and coolest people too.
Well, a lot of them seem, and just from my perspective, seem just like big fans. Just fans of that genre. Dave, JJ. So that's got to be cool. You're just to pick their brains and that they just seem like big kids in this.
Yeah, I think we all kind of are in our industry.
Yeah.
You kind of have to. Can't take anything too seriously. Otherwise, what's the point? You won't have fun.
Well, and going real quick to your acting training as well. You did work with Debbie Reynolds. Is that correct?
No, I actually just trained at her studio.
Oh, okay.
I was a dancer, yeah.
Well, what's some of the best advice that you got from there that you took into like your stunt and acting?
Oh man. I think dancing like is just a different industry.
Mhm.
And it taught me a lot about people. And so, I think you just have to I was treated pretty poorly by certain people in the dance industry, and it made me feel like I would never want to feel like that again, and I would never want other people to feel the way I ever did. So I feel like it taught me to be a better person, taught me how to treat people, human interaction. Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of issues being in the dance industry. So like I was told I was fat, and so like people just were very negative, and so I never ever want to make people feel that way. So that's what I got from being in the industry, just to have compassion for people.
And with the stunt, there's a lot of camaraderie, right? A lot of.
I think so. Like everyone's in this together, and you work with people of different races and abilities and sizes. So you just all have to work together, and we're all different, and we have to accept it. And so I think that's another thing that is really important, that we have a diversity in our industry.
And speaking of that camaraderie and working with other stunt performers, of course, you mentioned Ray Park. Is there somebody you would like to work with that you haven't had a chance to yet?
Oh man. Let's see. Who would I want to work with? I mean, Angelina Jolie. I've always been a fan.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think she's just an amazing person, and her intensity on film. Charlize Theron, like these are actors that I really look up to, and they also do action. And yeah, I think they're just amazing women, powerful women in the industry, and just good people. So I think I'd like to work with those two.
Did you see her recent film Old Guard?
Yes, I did.
I liked it a lot. Like I love
I
the
did too.
sequences in there.
Yeah, it was great. She did a lot of her own action, and she just brings it. Like, she has this intensity that, it's incredible. Incredible.
That film and also Extraction too, as far as the stunts and the fight sequences were really cool.
Oh, yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of good stuff on Netflix right now.
Yeah, Netflix is killing it. Yeah, Extraction was really great. The shots that they got, and then they showed some of the behind the scenes footage, and I was just amazed how they got some of the driving sequences, and then like Sam Hargrave, the director, would like be on the car, and then he would get like a near miss from a spinning 180 car, and then getting off and getting into the shot. It was like incredible.
It kind of felt like a video game too. Some of those when Chris is in the middle of the street, he's knife fighting. I was like, man, this is a video game. Like that, like you said, those shots are incredible.
Incredible, and like because Sam comes from a stunt background, I think it just brings a different element to that film, and it really knocked it out of the park. Like, it was so good.
Yeah, it's I mean, I like seeing when the envelope is pushed a little bit and there's kind of a unique approach. You see that too in a lot of the John Wick movies as well. Is there a technique that you haven't got to use yet that you was like, I would love to add this to a fight sequence, like something you haven't, a move or something you haven't gotten to do yet?
Well, it's funny that you say that. That's kind of the reason why I started Collie Diaries, because I was like, man, I just want to like create my own projects and like do sequences that, I think would be cool. But because I get turned down by coordinators sometimes, like I'd be like, what if we did this? And like, no. Yeah. And, I get it because they have notes from directors. It's like a whole thing. So, it was my way of like just creating my own projects because I just wanted my creativity to be seen. And then there's a couple moves that, of course, I was like, oh, that'd be really cool if I did like a double leg rise over this guy while he swept me. And then, so I got to do certain things. So you can see different little small tricks and stuff I do throughout the Collie Diaries. And that's pretty much why I did that.
With the Collie Diaries, how long does that usually take you to film?
Usually like 1 or 2 days of rehearsal, and then we just shoot for like anywhere from 4 to 8 hours, depending on which fight it was.
Are a lot of the people involved stunt performers that you've worked with before, or do you audition them?
Usually it's someone I know, and like for the Capoeira one, that's actually my professor.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, and he's not a stunt performer, but he did such a good job.
Hey, he might want to look into it or something. It was good.
Right? Yeah, he did a really good job. Yeah.
Well, that's a very popular art form too, capoeira. I've seen it obviously throughout the years. When did you find that art form?
Man, I've been training in that about the same time I started the Inosono Academy, so maybe like 5-6 years. But I just train privately, so I don't have the whole experience of learning, like the musical instruments and stuff, which I should learn more. But yeah.
Well, that's another one where dance probably helps you, right? Or having that dance background. Yeah,
it's a very fluid and elusive martial arts for sure.
And then, one martial art that I think definitely came a little more popular after Batman Begins, Krav Maga. Have you done some of that as well?
Yeah, I've dabbled in it a little bit. I mean, it's very, very similar to Muay Thai-ish because they use a lot of elbows. Man, that is like a martial art that really goes in for it. Like, they're there to hurt people. Yeah. Because that's what the military uses in Israel. Yeah. So they're there for like, eye gouging and like anything that you can think of, they will do it. So yeah, that's some hardcore training for sure.
Now, with the weapons you get to use, do you love the sword fighting over knives, over guns, or what do you prefer the most? I mean, I'm sure they got all be kind of fun, but do you have one preference?
Yeah, I like double sword a lot, which is what Ahsoka used.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just like the double weapon aspect. And then, there's always the possibility of being disarmed and then, going into single weapon. So the variety of it, and you can change grip. So I just love the variety of double weapon.
That's got to be almost like every kid's dream growing up. Double sword, kind of like Leonardo, like jumping off. Yeah. I feel like I am a kid at work.
because we're making like, especially at mocap, like you're just
You gotta
I'm
be.
like making the craziest noises and like seething out of like breathing hard like the character, and I get into it. So like I definitely feel like I'm a child at set on set.
Have you ever had to like kind of like, oh, I gotta dial it back a little bit?
Yeah. There's been times like where I'll do mocap and I'm like yelling on the top of my lungs or like breathing, and then like the doors open so all the animators outside hear everything I'm doing and they're like distracting them. And I'm like, oh, I should probably be quiet.
Yeah, it just seems like, and I get excited just hearing about it because it seems like such a fun career and like industry to be a part of, and the endless possibilities that you can do in those characters.
It really is. It's a fun job for sure, and it's just been fun to like research different characters and to bring them to life. Yeah, it's a joy.
And coming up too, are you looking to do any kind of more directing as well?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple projects I wrote that I do want to shoot eventually. I think I still want to do more like maybe some performing still and maybe stunt coordinating in the future, hopefully. So yeah, those are my long-term goals, but eventually I would love to produce and direct my own projects. Yeah.
And have you been writing a lot too during this time at all? Yeah.
No, I haven't. I've been actually just focused on my own projects that I've been trying to shoot right now. But yeah, kind of just want to get those done with and then start new projects.
And when you're not doing, your projects and stunt performing, what do you like to do just on a day off? I know right now like I said, there's not maybe a lot going on, but what do you usually like to kind of escape from work?
I like watching movies. I train a lot. I love doing yoga, meditation, just regular fitness, martial arts. Obviously, I like train lots of martial arts every week. And I don't even consider that work because that's just more fun for me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those are like most of the things I like to do. It doesn't sound that exciting, I guess. But
No,
yeah.
I mean, martial arts, it's always fun. Like,
Yeah.
and then yoga's definitely got to help too with the stunt performing a little bit, the flexibility.
Yeah. And just like, you got to find your yin to your yang, because like, there's just so much like, trauma that goes through your body. So you just got to really like recover and heal yourself when you can.
Whenever you watch like a movie or TV show with stunts that you're not involved with, just another movie project, do you ever kind of like break down your mind? Oh, I would have done that different, or maybe it would have been cool if they would have done this in this character.
Yeah, sometimes I do, where I'll be like, oh, why did they use that angle, or why did they do that? But most of the time, I feel like I know some of the people that work on these projects. So I try to admire other people's work, and it is still entertainment. So sometimes my mind will just like be free and like just watch it. So it just depends on the project. Like if it's that awful, I'll be like, oh my God. But most of the time I just feel like action has gotten so much better. So I think it's easier to watch, and like, it's easier to just be entertained now.
Do you have a guilty pleasure movie that you can watch over and over again that maybe people would be surprised that you're a big fan of?
Yeah, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Yeah.
I don't know what. I mean, I could watch that movie. I think I've seen it.
Is that Matthew McConaughey?
Yeah. I mean, I loved Kate Hudson in that.
Oh, yeah.
It's just one of those easy movies that you could just watch and leave on.
It is funny because she tries so hard to get rid of him. He's just like, all right.
All right.
That's that Texan, just whatever.
Yeah.
Dazed and confused. I mean, they seem to have though really good chemistry in that.
Yeah, and it's not even an action film, but I can watch it over and over.
No, that is a good one. What about music? Are you big into music? Do you have like a playlist when you're doing martial arts or that you like to listen to? Kind of get in the zone?
I actually listen to the whatever the martial art music when I'm doing capoeira, my capoeira instructor will play capoeira music, which I like when I'm doing capoeira. It helps get you in the mood. And then Guru Dan at Osana Academy, he plays like a lot of tribal or like Filipino music to get us in the mood. And then he started playing reggae.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he started playing reggae during, I think, Filipino martial art class. And I was like, wow, I'm kind of digging this. So, yeah, lately it's been like reggae and, which I didn't think I'd like while training martial arts because it's so chill.
Probably mellows you out a little bit.
Yeah, but it was like kind of cool. It loosens you up a little. So it was like a nice change.
It's definitely a genre that's coming back, I feel. Or like, bands and artists have kind of more feel like there's a band out there in California, the Dirty Heads. They kind of like a ska, reggae, rock band. So a lot of artists are kind of incorporating reggae now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's so funny that you said ska. I was talking about ska to my husband this week.
I know people forget about ska, but ska, I mean, hey, Real Big Fish, Money.
Yeah. I used to listen to all of that back in the day, and like No Doubt, like.
Oh yeah, no Doubt was great.
Yeah, they were ska. That's their original genre.
What was it? 94 through 99 was like the big ska. Well, of course, 311.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And then Less Than Jake. They're kind of more pop. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, you're totally.
I know, just I can geek out. Ska is like, it's like whenever you find someone else that enjoys ska or likes ska, it's like, you like ska?
Yeah. And then it's always the same bands too.
Yeah. It's like Step Brothers. Did we just become best friends?
Right.
But it is funny because when you look at like that kind of punk, that's a genre that people kind of forget about a little bit. But if you play Real Big Fish or you play Money by, but it's like, oh, I've heard of that before. And it's like, yeah, and then you open the world. Like,
right, totally.
There's actually a newer band. I don't know if you've heard of them. I mean, they're not new. They're called the Interrupters.
Okay.
They kind of have a ska feel to them as well. I was like, someone's bringing ska back.
Wow, I didn't think it'd come back. But
I know. It's getting renewed some way.
Wow.
Well, and that's the thing with some genres. Like some, they kind of go hidden a little bit. Well, remember, Big Bad Voodoo Daddy kind of try to bring back the big band era music. There's that, but then it kind of fastball sort of kind of mixed it up. But I don't know. I hope ska never goes fully away.
I agree. I mean, whatever happened to alternative? Do we even have that anymore?
It's kind of been morphed a little bit. I guess it's kind of popish alternative. It goes through phases. Pop. Yeah, it's kind of like pop because really when we think of like true alternative, we think, Smashing Pumpkins, Foo Fighters, Soundgarden, Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
Was Pearl Jam still going strong? But now everything's kind of like pop punk. There was the emo phase a while.
Right. I never got into that, but.
Yeah, it was there for like 2 seconds. Skater punk, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, alternative, it's morphed. It's now indie. Indie is huge. Like indie alternative, indie rock. Look at the Lumineers.
Right, yeah. I guess that's this modern days like alternative.
It all kind of circles through, but once in a while, an old genre will resurface back because people are like, what is ska?
Right. Yeah.
It's like, it's awesomeness. We need to have like a ska when we can have festivals safely again. Do like a throwback ska festival. I don't know.
I would actually go. I think.
I mean, that would be great because a lot of those, some of those bands are kind of still around a little bit. I think Real Big Fish is sort of still around. If they're not, this is a way to reunite.
Yeah, reunions. We'll call it a reunion concert.
See, those are good because as much as some of this new stuff coming out, and I have nothing against it, some of it's really good. I don't know, some of that classic stuff. And it's crazy to think the 90s are classic now. Like,
I know. I think we're getting old.
It happens. That's what they say. It's kind of sad where I think somebody was saying they were listening to Oldie Station and Red Hot Chili I'm messing up the name. Chili Peppers popped on and Foo Fighters. I'm like, that's oldies?
I know.
But
Foo Fighters. Wow.
Well, they've been around. Well, Chili Peppers, I think 1986, 1987.
Yeah, they're older, yeah.
Well, Green Day too was like 87, 88 technically.
Really?
Yeah, that's when they first really started. Of course, the Dookie album and all that was like 91, 92.
Wow.
It's crazy. It doesn't feel like it, but yeah. And I remember Eve Six, the
Oh
band
my
Eve
God,
Six.
E6 cassette
Yeah.
tapes.
But then again, '90s had a lot of one-hit wonders too, kind of like the '80s. Like remember
Yeah,
Chumbawamba?
yeah.
That's my motto. Tubba Thumping. Get
Wow.
knocked down, get back up
Oh my
again.
God, yes. Oh my goodness.
And then Aqua
Totally.
Barbie Girl. There you go.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
See, I think movies need to. Some movies bring back some of those, then if they're able to, like bring back a ska band, because that's how some people find music is through trailers and the movies.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we got to recycle that stuff.
This is our pitch to that. Bring
Yeah.
back ska, save ska, bring it back, bring back, save those '90s alternative.
Maybe I'll do a film and do all 90s music.
There you go. I mean that would be good. I mean I think that would be a big hit right there.
That would.
Us that grew up in the '90s, it's like yes. Well, Lauren, I want to thank you for taking your time here today, and best of luck with your upcoming projects, and congrats on everything that you have been doing. I mean, it just seems once again so much fun.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And we look forward to seeing more of your projects. And like I said, maybe you get those '90s classics in
Yes.
there.
My next project will be 90s inspired.
That will be awesome. And finally, where can people find you?
They can find me on Instagram, and that's where I post most of my cool videos and, behind the scenes footage. So yeah, check that out.